Hello and welcome to episode 19 of Absolute Scenes. Before I start, let's just give you all the social media stuff so you can follow us on there. I've started actually putting things on there now, Billy, and following people.
I have seen Twitter has been going crazy.
Yeah, it's been popping off. So Twitter is @Scenes Podcast, all one word, obviously, and Instagram is Absolute Scenes Pod, all one word. So if you do follow us on there, we have upwards of 50 followers now, Billy, on Instagram.
No way.
Yes, you can see our stories and maybe some pictures, some exciting pictures, because we've got some exciting news, haven't we, Billy?
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell the people?
We're going on tour! Well, yeah, it is a very random... Well, I think it's random anyway. So, it's half term for both of us next week, and I try... Well, I hadn't the last two holidays, but I try and go away for those. So, I'd... booked to go away from Monday to Friday to Madrid, and we were going to meet up with us two and our other two uni friends on the Saturday and Sunday, but lo and behold, that's not happening now. So I jokingly said, "Oh, Tom, why don't you just come out to Madrid with me?" And
Oh, that was a joke. I thought that was a serious invite.
Well, it was a serious invite as well, and then. But I never thought you'd book a ticket, and you went and booked a ticket. So
I did, yeah. It was Absolute Scenes.
Absolutely. I was going crazy in my house. I was running around, power sliding, going, yeah, Tom's coming with me. But no, yeah, it's so...
But it turns out that we're actually only going to spend one day
one full day.
in Madrid together.
I think, because you fly out now on the Saturday, yeah?
Yeah, very early Saturday morning.
From Birmingham. I'm travelling down, because I live in the middle of nowhere. It made no difference to me either flying from Cardiff, Bristol, wherever. So the cheapest flight was from London. Stupidly, I then didn't check that it was London Gatwick, which is a nightmare to get to. So I'm having to actually stay overnight the night before. So I arrive Monday evening. You'll already be there by 3 days.
I would have already been sick of Madrid. I'd have seen all the senoritas.
Yeah.
And I'm going to watch Real Madrid on the Sunday night against Celta Vigo.
I'm very jealous of that.
You should go to watch Atletico Madrid against Liverpool. There are still tickets available on StubHub if you're willing to pay €100.
Oh, I might then. I'll have a look.
But then if you do that, then I'll be jealous and I'll end up buying tickets for that as well.
Yeah, well, at least you can come. You can come to that. So that's the plan. Is I'll arrive Monday. We'll probably go for some paella. In the evening, and then we'll have all of Tuesday together. And then you fly back a Wednesday morning, and I'm then back on the Friday. So
yeah,
just to preempt, because we will probably forget. Potentially, I'm presuming. We haven't spoke about this off camera, so another behind the scenes insight now. The podcast next week will probably not go up on Tuesday as normal, purely because we will be in Madrid. I'm probably going to take my laptop with me, but I don't know whether we'll be able to
it'll
get
probably
it up
be Wednesday evening by the time that or Wednesday afternoon by the time I'm back home.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the 15 or 16 people who listen will be able to cope with the extra weight.
Well, especially because we'll have loads of banter going on in Madrid and whatnot.
Well, I'm thinking we're gonna.
I don't know what we're gonna
film it out and about. I reckon in some sort of cafe somewhere. I don't know.
I mean, we'll probably record it on the Tuesday. So if we do go to the game, we'll be like fan TV outside and interviewing loads of people because they'll all know who we are with our Absolute Scenes t-shirts on. Hashtag. Whatever we're going to be.
I have thought about doing some sort of vlog of the Real Madrid game. I've never ever done a proper vlog when you're talking to the camera yourself. But I'm thinking of content for our YouTube channel, which you can also find on Absolute Scenes Podcast if you search for it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'll be by myself. I'll be in a different country where they don't speak English, and they're not particularly... very good at speaking English, so I was thinking maybe this is my one chance to do a vlog as well, so we'll see. I'll certainly film some bits.
Purely because, not that you... Normally when you go to the Wolves games, I think you're very much the same. I don't like really watching it. You're going to be watching it through or more concerned about what's going on with your phone or whatnot, whereas... You're there to enjoy Wolves. You're watching Wolves. Whereas, yes, you want to be there to enjoy Real Madrid and whatnot. But I can, especially when I was travelling and going around various matches in South America, which we'll probably talk about next week. you're just taking in the atmosphere and stuff, and you don't really care about what's going on the pitch because, well, especially when I was in South America, I had no clue who any of the players were until I got to like Boca Juniors, and I was like, oh, there's Tevez, I know him, and whatnot. But I reckon it'll be fun. It'll be a good laugh.
I'm a little bit frightened to be travelling by myself for the very first time, flying by myself, and making sure that I'm in the right place at the right time, etc. But I've booked all my parking and stuff at Birmingham Airport. I even had a text through from HSBC because I was spending so much money in such a very short amount of time that they went, well, there's suspected fraudulent activity on your account, so we've blocked it because I'd bought flights and the hotel and the and everything else. And they said, we're just looking out for you, mate, because people are buying stuff in Madrid. It doesn't look like you. So, yes, but I'm very excited.
On a side note, purely on this is that's not a personal question, but what are you doing? Are you getting euros out? Are you gonna have you got a travel card?
I was going to ask you off air because
off it. I'm just thinking if we could get sponsorship in because I've got loads of. So we'll talk about it off air. But Monzo, Starling are brilliant travel cards where they're like preloaded cards. Okay. You've probably seen adverts on YouTube and stuff for them and stuff, but I used them when I was in South America. They're a lot more now, but the main reason I used them was you basically just did a bank transfer from your account to that account, and then you could use it as a normal credit card. But we'll talk more about that off here. But yeah, Monzo and Starling are going to now be sponsors of the podcast because they love
One of them is the best bank ever in the world, is what they keep advertising themselves as.
But anyway, moving on, just because I know it's going to be a slightly long podcast. Have we got any news, scandal or gossip from Wolverhampton? Any absolute scenes happen?
Well, there was no football this weekend, so what did I do instead? There's negative scenes going on at the moment in my house because I don't know if you know, Billy, but there's been a terrible storm going on. Is the cafe okay? Is it all blown away?
We were what's the word? Not submerged.
Flooded.
It's not. We were flooded, but it's when we were like an island basically.
Oh well.
Is it marooned?
Yeah.
So the water basically comes around our cafe. The cafe's 6 feet in the air, so it can come underneath. But this morning we woke up and it was an hour before high tide, and if I hadn't moved my car, then I wouldn't have been able to get out.
That's a shame that you were so on the ball, Billy.
I had a blood test today, so I was like, I needed to get out and go. Unfortunately, if I didn't have that blood test, unfortunately, I wouldn't have been able to get into work and whatnot.
The scenes at the Rouse House, I looked out the window this morning, and there's a big fence on the right-hand side of the garden. There's like a big 7 or 8 foot high fence, and it was swinging in the wind. It was going back and forth, and this was as I was about to leave. So I just thought, dear me, and I went to work, and then I came back and I went out into the garden afterwards, and it's sort of been uprooted with how much it's swung.
So you've just extended your back
so it's
garden
just an extra,
now,
extra foot, and of course, there's all that wild land that's behind it. So when it inevitably falls, I'll have rats and bats and cats and stuff coming into the garden. But I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay. I'm sure it'll be fine eventually.
You'll have some new friends. You've been saying for a while you need a new pet, so this is how you're going to get
that's
one.
That's the other exciting thing. I've taken the gravel out of the fish tank to give it because it just gets really dirty. Really dirty really quickly. That's how exciting my life has been.
Have we had any more? Because obviously we had the tragic news
about Joffre
about Joffre passing away. Yeah, may he rest in peace. Have you replaced Joffre?
Not yet. Or no. I think I was planning to do that during February half term, but perhaps the trip to Spain has now put that on hold.
We can get him a little señorita.
Bring a fish back over from Spain. Yeah.
Just back in from what is it when you go through customs?
Oh, yeah.
Have you got anything to declare?
Yeah,
no,
just a goldfish.
Piranha. But yeah, I've had a pretty busy day in work. So today, my year 10 class sat their first ever GCSE. They did their GCSE exam today. So that was pretty daunting for them because obviously. When you sit your first GCSE exam, I think you don't realise, the magnitude of what it is because that's now a quarter of their GCSE course done, and they can they can resit it once more. But in effect now that's it, they're done, and we do come back over some of the stuff that they've done, but that's it now, done. They can tick it off. If they pass it, great. They don't need to worry about it again. So that was pretty daunting this morning, and I haven't seen the paper yet because it's all done online. So they came out of the exam and were like, "Oh, question 17 was really hard." I was like, "I don't know what that is."
I was wondering this the other day because with the SATs papers, we get to see them before the kids. We get to have a little look through them, but you don't get to see them at all.
So no,
even afterwards.
GCSE. So afterwards, if a paper copy, if there's a couple left over, I think you can see them so many days after, because I think depending, there must be like a window of blah 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 blah, and you can see them so many days after. Whether that's done to the letter of the law, I don't know. But in terms of the paper, that, because mine's on the computer, and it's the first time that I've done, actually delivered this course. I don't know whether I can see it tomorrow, or whether that's it, it's gone, and I won't see it now until the mark scheme comes out, whenever it comes out. So they've got to wait now 4 weeks until they get their result, which is pretty good. It's not like a traditional GCSE where they've got to wait until the summer to get their exam result, and then they can, I think it's like 4 weeks, and then I can enter them again if they want to do a resit, and then go from there. So that was at the start of the day. Like I said, I had a blood test as well, so I had that, that was the first time I, in quotations, gave blood.
Is it really?
in a long while, because I can't, because of my tattoos. I've not been able to give it.
Okay.
So it's over, I think, what is it now? Over nearly a year and 18 months probably since I last had blood outside of my body voluntarily.
That's just reminded me, in fact, that it's been nearly 4 years since I've done it, because I wasn't allowed to do it for
so
a year
long
or
after
18 months after my bone marrow donation, but then I just, with other things, I just haven't got around to doing it again. Yeah.
The funny thing is, I think I mentioned it too before, currently now, where the venue where they collect blood in Cardigan is the sports hall that I use for my PE lessons. So I know when, because they have to block, can we have it this? I was like, yeah, so I know when the next ones are coming up. And because I'm such a rare blood type, they ring me up to say, can we have your blood? So they're like, please. And I'm like, well, I've got to wait X amount of months. So I think now the next time they're in town, I'll be allowed to donate and stuff. But then I had that. And then the last thing, is it to do with blood? Because I'm going to change on to something else. And then we had our rugby cup. I think it was the last round of last 16 fixture tonight. The seniors against the reigning champs. I think they've won it the last 3 years in a row. And we scored a try, which was great. And then the match was abandoned at half time because we were so far behind.
Oh, really?
So it was. To be fair to the boys, they did well. The weather conditions were appalling. It actually started hailing at one point in the game. They're a well drilled and organised team. Whereas my boys, I'll be lucky to get 20. I'll be lucky to get 10 of the 20 turn up to training. So yeah, it was very one-sided. But it's a learning curve for both me and them, I think, because there was a lot of younger boys.
The way you were building that up, I thought you were going to say, and of course we beat them. Hey!
No, well,
who? Or Rich what?
we got through the we got through to the round of the last 16 purely, or the whatever round we're in, because with a bye.
Oh yeah, maybe telling me.
Yeah, so we were quite lucky to be that far anyway, and they were. So they have what's known as a hub officer, which is like a rugby development officer for their school. My school currently doesn't have one, so they have their PE teacher and this rugby development officer, and their PE teacher taught. I went on a course back in September. I think I told you, didn't I, about a rugby coaching course. He was delivering the course, was their teacher. So just to show the magnitude of, I'm a beginner rugby coach, and he's teaching coaches how to coach. So yeah, but
he's Pep Guardiola, and you're.
I'm
Dean Smith.
I was going to say Roberto Di Matteo, but
I'm the Champions League.
Champions League. Yeah, no, but it was it was a good laugh and whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, Anything else? What were you going to say, Tom? Or
Well,
you remember
my
what you were
link
gonna say?
to the next bit was going to be about. So it was about blood because I still get texts from Trinity saying there's a blood donation today. Please come.
Please
There
come.
are plenty
come
of
along.
spaces. Please come along, and that's of course our topic for discussion today.
This week, yeah. Well, so this week is our second part or part 2 of our however many part series of us looking back at our time in university. Last month was you asking me about mine, or us having a discussion about my time. I think that was, you said, was that no, it wasn't the most listened to. The transfer one was the most listened to.
Yeah, it was I think it was the first podcast that under the Absolute Scenes umbrella term name.
Yeah. So it was the most listened to Absolute Scenes podcast.
It wasn't. Sorry. Oh yeah. Right,
No,
it's at that moment.
No, at that
yeah,
time.
Okay, right.
At that moment, because it was the only one.
Right.
So yeah, let me have my shining glory, Tom, now. But obviously now we've done a few more. So hopefully now this gets as much traction, obviously, because you are a celebrity.
Yes.
Everyone will want to know
track.
the inside track of the, this is almost like the pre part of your biography. So this is a sneak peek for when of your memoirs in a few years' time.
People want to hear it.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So we off air we were trying. I asked, did you have any questions? And you said no, you didn't have any pre-prepared questions. So I wrote a couple of down to ask you. So hopefully it's as good as last time, because obviously you're an excellent interviewer, whereas I am probably not as great. But we started off because I know. So you're a year older than me, but we went to university at the same time. So obviously, you Air Max, I know you had a gap year.
Yeah, my gap year.
You had your gap year before going to
literally
to Trinity.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I found myself.
So tell us, Tom, how you ended up at Trinity at the Drindod.
Well, when I was first in year 13, so we're talking 2008, 9, and it was probably 2008. So I was looking at universities to go to, and I didn't even know what I wanted to study. And I happened across outdoor education, which basically I thought that would be like going on residential trips all the time. That'll just be like chilling out and doing whatever.
I can confirm that, because that was alongside my course. So that was, you were definitely right there.
But then, of course, the more I read about it, you had to sort of know how to kayak and know how to do stuff already before going, which I could do. I could probably have learned very quickly, or if I really wanted to do that, I could have gone to PGL for my gap year or something like that and learnt on that. But I'd never heard of Trinity, obviously, living in Wolverhampton, and Trinity being the other end of the universe in Carmarthen.
Yeah.
But then, as I was then applying for I decided later that year that I wanted to do primary school teaching, so I was applying for QTS places, and I'd applied for Wolverhampton and Worcester and Birmingham City University and Liverpool Hope University, and then I had one space left. And I thought, I wonder if that place in Carmarthen that was a million miles away, because that was what attracted me to it, was that it was so far away from Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
The others were relatively close, apart from Liverpool, which was a couple of hours away. But then Carmarthen was so far away. That was what was sort of attracting me to it, because not that I really wanted to desperately escape Wolverhampton, but I just wanted something completely different to what I was used to. I remember coming back on the train when I had my QTS interview in 2009, so the year before I actually went there, and writing a list of pros and cons on between Wolverhampton and Carmarthen, basically, for my reserve choice, because Liverpool was going to be my first choice. But then the reason why I didn't go to university that year is because I didn't try very hard in year 13, and then had to resit various things in my gap year and do extra things. I did general studies and what have you to try and get as many UCAS points as I could. Yeah. And I still didn't get on a QTS course, despite all of that, and despite working as a TA for a year, and despite my head teacher of the secondary school that I went to, who's a Welsh speaker, rang up Trinity and spoke in Welsh to them and said, "Do you realise what you're missing out on here?" And and they still wouldn't give me anything until they offered me an interview for the Primary Education Studies degree, which eventually I got a place on, and I spent 10 hours on a train all day going from Wolverhampton to Carmarthen and back for them to basically go, yeah, so do you want to come here? And I went, yes, please. And that was as they say, that.
Just because you've glossed over it, because obviously a lot of our listeners might not know what a QTS and what that is, blah 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 is. So, Carmarthen, I don't know if they still offer it, because I know there was rumours of them not offering it and whatnot, blah 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 blah. They did a 3-year, so they did a primary education degree, where at the end of it you were able to then be a fully qualified teacher. Whereas normally you'd have to do a 3-year degree and then an extra, like almost like a master's, to then become a teacher. So I ended up I did my PE degree and then did my PGCE, which is what you normally have to do to become a secondary school teacher, because they don't do that qualification. But Trinity was one of the few universities which offered this 3-year degree, almost like a crash course, to become a teacher and stuff, which is what all of our other friends, other than Ruth, did. And go on.
Just to mention as well, in hindsight, I'm very glad that I didn't do that 3-year degree.
I was going to ask.
Having now seen students come into schools and they're in schools for 5 weeks and then they're not in school again for another 12 months pretty much. Whereas when I did my PGCE, I was in a classroom for 80% of the year and teaching for most of that by the end of the time. So I didn't realise that at the time, but it sort of gave me 3 years to sort of grow up a little bit more and watch others become teachers and watch their failings and what they did well, obviously, and then go into it myself.
Because I know throughout the 3 years, I know I jump in about a bit, but throughout the 3 years, I remember you getting very frustrated with. There was quite a few people who dropped out of the QTS course, and it wasn't. You were never offered the opportunity, especially at the start. There was quite a few, even during the first couple of months. I think there was quite a few people dropping out. It's like during freshers or near enough straight away, and there wasn't even an offer to your class, if anyone. But I think in hindsight now, you've said you're glad, but I remember you being really annoyed with the fact that people were dropping out of the QTS course, and it just being the case, and you were just going, well, they could have had me. They could have had me.
Yeah, well, that's and I remember I think it was halfway through second year, Phil in the kitchen telling me I will never be a teacher. He said those words to me, and now he's not a teacher, and I've been a teacher for 6 years now. So I've always felt that I would be able to be a teacher, and had the qualities to be a teacher. But I was just so lazy, and I still am so lazy. But I would have done that course, and I would probably still be a teacher today. But I'm glad the way that I've done it in the end. But I do remember being annoyed now that you've reminded me. But I never did anything to actually. I never did anything to.
I have No, I have older saw that you weren't. It wasn't a case of you were throwing your toys out the pram. It was just a case of I remember you being like, "Oh, it's another person who's got." And there was a few people who went from that course from the QTS course to your course.
Yeah,
as well.
Undermining our course a little bit, I found, but
Yeah, which I can imagine was frustrating. And I think we had this chat before. Were there many people who went from? Pardon, because your course wasn't a direct into the PGCE sort of thing after. Were there many people on your course that you know of that went on to become teachers, or because obviously it was one of those ones like similar to my course, the PE one. A lot of them went into the police. They used it to go into other avenues because I think they like bumped them up the pay grade or something like that. So do you know if there was many that went?
I don't know the exact number because I wasn't too friendly with people in my class, but I know that a couple of them have. I know that Matt Wayne is now teaching in Qatar. I think Josh Williams did it for a little bit, or has gone into sort of coaching side of it. So people have done it, but then others, I don't know what they've done. But the only other thing I'd like to add at this point as well is that I didn't know this at the time when I was applying or initially found Trinity, but my grandfather went to Trinity in 1960, so exactly 50 years after before I started. He went there and trained to be a teacher, And the weekend before we started, he went to a
alumni.
like an alumni, and he'd never been before, but because it was the 50th year of him starting, and it was the last time that he probably is the last time that he would go to Trinity, and he came back from it, and I remember speaking to him a couple of days before I was going, and he was really pleased that I was going to a university that he had been to, and then that he'd gone back to and seen how much it had developed and how much it had come on, and that he was quite happy to see me going to such an up and coming university. I think it was at the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I think we caught one at the start. Now it's my brother's there now. He's just finished. He'll finish this academic year, and at the end of our time there, they obviously at the first year they developed Halliwell, the new restaurant bit, and they had, I don't know if the stage thing was there as well, but they developed that. And there was another few areas that they developed. They obviously built the new complex, that new building at the end of third year. Can you remember behind Tower there was that parking?
Yeah, I can remember that because I crashed a car in there.
You crashed? Yeah. Oh yeah, you crashed. Actually, yeah, you drove. That was your first driving experience, I think, in Carmarthen. You were that was in first year. You managed to drive Beth Curran's car through into someone's back garden. But that's gone now. That parking thing's gone.
There's a plaque that says Tom Rice once crashed a car here.
There's a massive warning symbol. It's definitely grown, and obviously now there's links with Swansea and Cardiff. There's links all over and even down in Cardigan now the
logo.
The logo for the, I can't remember what it's not Coleg Sir Gar, but Coleg Sir Gar is part of it. It's like not University South Wales, but something to do with that is all over this way. So it's definitely part of a growing.
I remember it being a big deal when we were starting, and they changed the name and they'd rebranded the university, and it had combined with a couple of other places as well. So I remember it being a big deal. Yeah.
Cool. So obviously you had your gap year, then came to Trinity. You asked me the question as well, so I'm only going to ask you the question because I'm hoping you have, because I didn't really understand the question when you asked it, so I'm hoping there's something happened in the summer before, summer leading up to university. I was like, that's a very strange question. I can understand the question, but I was like, no, there wasn't really anything, because I don't know if I mentioned last time, but I didn't go on like a lads holiday at the end of year 13 or anything like that. But obviously you had your gap year, like we've mentioned. Did you do anything exciting either the summer that you finished school first time or leading up to university, or was there anything of noteworthy? Were Wolves promoted or relegated?
Wolves got promoted. Well, this was one of the reasons why, because I haven't mentioned it, but I did go to the Wolverhampton University for probably about 6 to 8 weeks at the beginning of the academic year before we started university, 2009-10. And Wolves had been promoted in 2009, and one of the reasons why I wanted to stay in Wolverhampton, and I felt like I had to go to university as well because everybody else was going, so I just thought, I will go. But then I ended up, for the second half of that season, going to almost every away game and home game, obviously. So I have done the following Wolves everywhere previously, and I was doing that by myself as well. I was just going on the coach by myself and going around the country. But I quite enjoyed that. But then, no, I didn't do anything particularly exciting in the summer. Not that I remember. I remember being kicked out of my bedroom, similar to I think you mentioned on your podcast.
Yeah.
But I didn't go away. I went away with friends from school to Cornwall camping. But that was the extent of my gap year travelling, was to Cornwall.
Yeah, that's Well, funny you mentioned Cornwall because we didn't mention it on mine. I know again we're jumping it, but we went camping, didn't we? Was it end of second year?
We did
end
it
of
twice.
First year?
I think we did it first and second year, I think.
Yeah, I know, because I didn't come. I came to visit, but I didn't do the camping because I had work. And the weeks that I felt I couldn't get the time off work and stuff, so it's nice to see that you brought that to the table, as well as you have any other talents, Tom.
Other people as well. Dan, of course.
I think Dan instigated.
He had been to Newgale previously, and that's why we went there. But I'm sure there was something else I was just going to mention now. The summer beforehand, I remember just playing loads of Football Manager and just counting down the days to go. I remember being very, very excited to go and joining the Facebook group and talking to a couple of people who eventually became friends with and still speak to now. But yeah, that was it really. There wasn't really anything exciting. It's just anticipation of what was going to come.
You wanting to go and stuff. But it was funny, just going back to the fact that you were going to go to Wolverhampton University. I think I mentioned, because we had to record my podcast twice. I can't remember whether we kept it in or not. But Wolverhampton University was one of my options initially before I did my whole reject them all and stuff. So it could have been that we still would have crossed paths.
Yeah.
Regardless,
I don't know if I ever told you, but do you know what I did at Wolverhampton for those 6 weeks?
What? I think you have told me, but I have forgotten.
So it was a joint honours. It was English and popular music.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a Tom Rouse music. Yeah, but no, it would have been funny but you would have been the year above me, so
I wouldn't have been looking.
You would have been
bothering with you.
You would have been with a freshman.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it'd have been funny. So moving on to your actual time in university. So what can you remember? What are your overriding memories, Tom, about first year? Is there anything that sticks out? Because I know we've briefly touched upon it and in the previous podcast. I think but we'll start if there's any.
I'd probably break first year up into sort of a couple of sections, because the very beginning of it, I remember being a little bit reserved and a little bit shy because of being, the only English person, the only person from England in our little group of friends. And
I'll let you have that.
I suppose you. Harry Mansell, in fact, I was talking to the other day, and he said, "What is the deal with Billy? Because he's got this Welsh accent, but then he says he's from Burnley, and then he supports Chelsea. What is the deal with him?" So you are the most confusing character, Billy. But anyway, so I was coming from the furthest away. You had friends from school that were with you. Dan knew Matt as well, and Simon being a little bit older and coming from Caerphilly, and knew people. Welsh people.
He knew everyone.
Welsh people are just friends with each other anyway. As soon as you go into a room and there's a couple of Welsh people in there, they'll all just talk to each other. So I was sitting there in the corner all the time, thinking like, "Oh my God, what is going on here?" And it took me a couple of weeks to sort of come out of my shell a little bit. And because at the weekends you were all going back home or going to. Or very very rarely people were staying, so I was spending weekends all alone, staring at the window. And occasionally people would stay and whatever, but it was very very quiet over the weekends at the beginning. But then once we all got to know each other, and then after Christmas time, that's when I started to enjoy university a lot more, and people were. I liked that people would spend a lot of time in my room as well, because. I don't know what it was, but while I was in school, because my dad taught at that school, I don't know if it was just coincidence or whether it was something that that consciously I didn't ask people around or people didn't come around because a teacher was going to be there. But I liked that this was my place or my little room, and people could come there. And it was a big room. I was just looking at pictures of it now. Those rooms in Tower. And with the view and everything, it was beautiful. I used to love that room.
I think you have it because you and me had the same room in essence when I was on floor down on floor 2 before I moved up. So that was, I would definitely say that was the bigger of the 5 rooms that were up there. Obviously, you had the best view. You and Phil had
the best view.
You and Phil had the same, I think, rooms. His was just the flip, but yours definitely won because we were on the top floor, and it had the view and everything. And as well, I'm going to move on to in a moment. You had another feature as well in your room, but your room definitely was almost the hub. But can you remember?
It was funny as well because at that time I didn't drink at all. So people used to come into my room and leave a mess, and then I'd have to just like a little old lady tidy up after everybody and go, right, you all go to bed then, lovely, and I'll just sit here by myself.
Can you remember jumping ahead towards the end of It was at the end of first year. Can you remember us winding the girls up and saying that we were going to go on a trip to a beach?
Right. So
and I said, yeah, we're going to.
So my room was on floor 10, and it was room B. And those of you who have any sort of geographical knowledge of South Wales will know that there's a beach in West Wales called 10B. So we told them it was a lovely day, sort of April, May sort of time, so the weather's getting a bit hotter.
Yeah.
So like, let's go to 10B, shall we? Yeah, okay. Girls all got their stuff ready, packed bags, came up to our room to get it.
This was literally an hour. It took them about an hour to get all their stuff together. Yeah.
And they came up, and we had just, I can't remember exactly what we did, but we sort of had the deck chairs were out, towels out, sunglasses on.
I think we had a bucket and spade.
And we said, there we go, 10B. And I remember Jenny just turning on her heel, and they went straight to the Gower. They just stormed off to another beach. They went, oh, right, that's what you're doing then, fine. And they went. Yeah. But yeah, I do remember winding the girls up. I thought you were going to say about April Fools as well, because that was a very, very funny day as well. Yeah. We'd broken down in the middle of the night into their kitchen and stolen everything from them. And they didn't know that it was us, I don't think. And we'd hidden it all in our bedrooms and stuff. So I remember just having general laughs and making new friends in first year. That's my overriding memory. And then starting to drink again towards the end of the year.
Towards the end, yeah. And obviously, we spoke about it, I think, briefly last time as well. The video diaries, that they started with your vlogs and whatnot. So that was obviously your first year. When I
started YouTube nearly 3 years ago, over 3 years ago, I remember saying at the time, I wish I'd have been doing this from university, because if I'd have been, all I was doing is sitting in front of a camera and talking about how rubbish the Wolves were, or how good, in fact, since I've been doing it, how good the Wolves have been getting. But if I'd have been doing that since university, and I had the equipment to do it, and watching Wolves go down to League One and then back up, I was thinking I could have had thousands and thousands and thousands more subscribers than I have now. But I don't know, watching the video diaries, I didn't have the confidence in front of a camera or in front of a microphone than I do now, but I suppose that comes from hours of practice. But I wish I'd have done that in university.
I think that video diaries stemmed this. Without the video diaries, there wouldn't be the old gold and black. That's why I claim. Maybe. That's my big bold statement there. But no, also, we mentioned it. You had the water feature in your room where the water. Had
so I came back from Christmas holiday, and I remember opening the door, thinking, "Oh, there's a bit of a smell in here. What is it?" And then looking up above the sink, and it was just constantly dripping with water, and it was like black on the ceiling, and the bed had been ruined. The bed sheets and everything were completely wrecked. Because there was something to do with the roof or something. Because the building has been condemned now, and this is
the water tank was above. So if your room was room B, and then next to it was room C. Above room C was the water tank. Because I know in room C, both all
he had to move out, didn't he? But I really didn't want to leave that room, because not just because of the view and everything, but just because of the sort of situation we'd got as well, with me, you and Dan living in the same place. So I remember having to sleep on your floor for one night, but then I was Barry John's brother, or whatever his name was, the porter who was related to Barry John. He got me a new mattress, and things looked up.
It was
all
there. Sorted. Yeah. But no, so anything else from first year that you want to bring up before we move on? Just because I'm looking at the time and whatnot.
No, not particularly.
No, I don't think I can't. We've spoken
nobody's
briefly about
nobody's mentioned Francis yet in a podcast.
But I think we're gonna save that for Dan. I think Dan's gonna have all the characters. Purely because Dan managed to meet all the strange characters of art. I think he got introduced.
Strange beget strange.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, so second year we've already spoken about. You'll have to go back to. I'm not going to waste time explaining the living situations in second year. Purely, you'll have to go. You'll have to go back to listen to the previous episode.
If anybody's that detailed in the logistics
details
of
So it's basically second year, anything jump out for you? Obviously, we met a lot more people and whatnot. Our friendship group expanded.
The beginning of second year is my favourite time when I look back at it, because I just remember like at the very beginning, I remember going out to the Union and I remember a couple of times me and Jenny being awake still in the living room that we had at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and that's the only time in my life when I've been like a proper, caner, like going for it and going like, come on lads, come on, just wanting more and more until and then regretting it later.
I think as well, because you didn't drink first year, whereas we'd all not got it out of our systems. We'd all done that first year. You were obviously experiencing it for the first time second year, whereas I think they had did they have their placement pretty early on?
I think so.
Second year. So obviously they were all doing that, and it was a case of we all weren't going out, whereas you were just like, lads, let's go. Booze.
A couple of times where I was just like, I think me and Ruth went out, just the two of us once, because that's what Trinity will have, that no other university or very few universities will have, is that you could go out with just two people and then you'd end up speaking to everybody else because you all lived within a stone's throw of each other, that it didn't really matter that you were going out by yourself, because you weren't really going out by yourself because everybody else was going out anyway.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that the Union isn't open as often nowadays. Max was telling me, my brother, so they end up going down. I've ended up going downtown a lot more. So maybe that element has slightly gone, which is a shame. But yeah, definitely you could go, like you've mentioned earlier. Everyone seemed to know everyone, especially because of the QTS course. Because there was the two main courses were the QTS and then the acting course. Yeah. As long as if you knew one person on one of those courses, you basically knew a third of the university. Basically everyone was there. But yeah, second year, anything else?
Well, really? In the summer I went on the trip to America with there was a mixture of my course and the QTS course, which was probably one of my highlights of the whole 3 years, despite none of my closest friends in university going to that, but a couple of other people did, and it was very, very enjoyable. Some of the stuff that we got to do. We got to go inside the White House. We got to go inside the Senate. Visiting Washington, Chicago, other places, Ohio. There was a couple of horrible places we went to as well. But that was a really, really enjoyable trip, and obviously through that I made some friends as well for third year as well. Yeah,
because that was at the end of. Was at the end of second year?
It was in the summer. It was in August.
So the summer of second, because we went to London as well. Obviously, to go and pick up.
We haven't mentioned that. That's quite a big part of second year. Forgot.
This is what I've been fishing for, Tom. Is your claim to fame?
Yes.
But before we move on to that, in regards to the America trip, obviously you came back and were talking about it, a lot, and obviously all your great experiences. But I remember you showing us. You might not even remember this. I remember you putting in a clip, and I think it's in the video diaries. Of you and a few of your mates out there doing the Sky Sports, the player walk up to the camera and folding your arms or whatever gesture that you were doing and stuff. But I thought that was funny because it reminds me of when Jimmy Bullard does it when he has his shorts pulled up to his armpits.
We were trying to do.
But yeah, anyway.
There's a couple of things from that trip that just sums up university. Like when you just end up shouting random things at each other, and that becomes like a catchphrase. Like I remember through, and it tended to be when I used to come home from university in the summer and then spend a lot of time with other people, and then go back in September, and you'd end up just shouting random. So I can't remember some of the stuff, and some of it's not appropriate to shout on a podcast. But, just like. I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head at the moment. But like we used to forever in lectures, whenever Helen Lewis used to be talking, we'd be going, and she eventually used to think for weeks I'm sure she didn't know what was going on. Then she used to just say, "Can you please just stop?" You just end up going when they said, "Right, can you just talk to the person sitting next to you about what you might be doing your assignment on?" And we just go. So, go on, ask me about the Olympics then, Billy. Although we have already touched upon it on different podcasts.
On my podcast, but yeah, obviously, you had your big crowning moment at the end of second year, where you were
who sang the £1 Fish song.
Yeah, you and recorded him and helped him become the YouTube sensation that he is. And then obviously had his hit single and whatnot. But yeah, you entered the Olympics, Tom, and you won all the gold medals.
Yes.
And that was the year obviously London held. That was right. The Olympics, wasn't it? That was the end of
the second year.
Second
it was
year,
pretty much the whole of
Go on.
second year that the process was going on, because I got interviewed for it in the summer after first year, and then I found out at Christmas time that I was going to be at Wembley and stuff. So it did sort of encompass the whole of the of second year. And the day when we went to London to get my uniform was a very enjoyable day. We were going down on the megabus. It did take all day. We went at something like 3 a.m. or something.
And so I was looking because I've got to go obviously to London now on Monday, Sunday. I was looking at like bus times and stuff, and I was because we got there for about midday, and that's when my flight goes. And it is something like stupid, like 4 o'clock in the morning to go from Carmarthen. And I'm just there like, and I can't believe we did that.
We walked down from university to the bus stop at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Absolute madness, but a very, very a very enjoyable day. I look back on that day fondly, and you didn't. None of you needed to come, but I think it was just a nice excursion for us all to do together. And then one funny story from that. So I had to go to East London to pick up my uniform, and I had to get measured and all sorts of stuff for it. And then I was looking at my phone, or looking at, I can't remember what I had at the time, but I wanted to look at Abbey Road, and there was a tube. It was a tube map, and there was a tube stop that said Abbey Road. So I thought, well, I'll go there then. So Abbey Road, of course, is where the Beatles recorded all their albums and stuff. So I went there, and there was a zebra crossing. So I thought, oh, it must be Abbey Road. I'll take a picture of that. I'll walk across the crossing, lovely. But there wasn't a soul about. I told my dad about it. I said, it's not far from the West Ham ground. It's not far from Upton Park. And he said, what are you talking about? It's in North London. It's in St John's Wood. It's right by Lord's Cricket Ground. It's in a really, really posh area, not by West Ham's ground. So I had just
West Ham's old ground.
I had just found a random Abbey Road, and there happened to be a pedestrian crossing, which I just happened to walk across. So there were people there who must have thought, "What is this idiot doing with his fancy camera, taking a picture of a pedestrian crossing and then getting back on the tube?" What an oddball. But
that sums you up,
the
Tom.
kind of thing that I am
renowned for. Right, I'm gonna. You can cut this bit out if you want, because I'll just leave a pause and whatnot. Because obviously, second year was obviously where things started to deteriorate between our group and stuff in second year, and obviously there was a bit of animosity between you and certain individuals, just purely because I personally think, Tom, you have such a dry sense of humour as well, and I being northern and going to see my family and experiencing being a cultured man and leaving my backyard. I got what you were on about and managed. Like Tom's being a prat, he's being a prat, and don't get me wrong, there were times where I wanted to, like we spoke last month about with the Chelsea game and you winding me up and all that lot. And there were times, and I'm not going to lie, I nearly hit your guitar over your head. But you started by saying in first you were a lot more reserved. Do you think second year you came out of your shell and started to piss people off? Pardon my French.
I think I probably did that in first year as well, but maybe not to the same extent that I did in second year. Certainly not at the beginning of third year. I think I was at times, I think I was not out of control, but I think out of order, perhaps. But if people would do the same to me, then I would have dealt with it in a different way. Because I don't think what I was doing was particularly bad. So, for example, playing the guitar in the evening when they've got teaching practice is not a punishable offence. And if there is a problem, don't send a text across a corridor. Come and knock on my door.
Yeah. But as well, it wasn't as though you were playing electric guitar, because your room was next to mine. Yeah. So
it wasn't like I was. It wasn't Jimi Hendrix at Blinking Woodstock. I was just strumming.
No, yeah.
Playing a couple of songs.
And and I was next to you, and sometimes it irritated me, but and I can't. I didn't have teaching practice or whatnot, and whatever. But yeah, like you say, having a chat about it would have been probably a lot more grown up to do. But obviously, we were only 19, and some of us were a lot more mature or whatnot, and found it.
I suppose, yeah.
But yeah, but so obviously that bled into third year, and obviously things started to get serious on our courses. We actually had to start doing some work.
Second year was academically was my best year. That's where I got my. I got a 2 on everybody. Hold the applause, please. But that second year was when I worked the hardest, because I was also, I haven't mentioned this, I was learning Welsh as well.
Oh, I completely forgot about
every
that.
Monday, every Monday and every Wednesday. And bear in mind, everybody used to go out on a Wednesday, so I very rarely went out in second year because I was going to Welsh classes. Or if I did go out, I'd be going out later because I can't remember what the time. It was something like 7 till 9 o'clock or something. So everybody's obviously going out at 9, half 9 or something, and I'm there. Dwi'n eisiau yn pysgod ysgolodion osgolach yna. And thank you.
Brilliant. Just as a translation, that's I would like fish and chips. Please.
I often. I mean, I don't know why really I'd learnt Welsh, because at the time I didn't have any. I wasn't going to teach in Wales. I didn't know I was going to teach in Wales, and I thought it was just a nice thing to do. And I think my dad probably paid for me to do it, and I got the Mynediad certificate.
Yeah.
What's Mynediad? Beginners, something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I learned a little bit of Welsh, and then learnt a little bit more when I was teaching it in the Rhondda in Wales. But
and I remember you. I remember you going back, and you might not be now, but I remember you teaching one of your classes when you first moved back to Wolverhampton, or maybe it was on your PGCE. You were teaching them Welsh and whatnot, and then I think, did you like Skype or someone back in Wales or something, or am I making this all up?
I think you're making that up. That hasn't happened.
All right. I'm sure I remember you, or maybe you just sent us a video of them. You taught them a song or something, and I just remember seeing a clip.
Oh, okay. Well, I taught the class that I taught last year. I taught them Calon Lan around about this time.
Maybe
of year,
that's
because
it.
They sang it on St David's Day, but
yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what I remember you teaching them some Welsh at some point, but whatnot. But I think, growing up, I had to learn Welsh. It's part of the curriculum in Wales, so we have to learn 2 languages. We have English and Welsh lessons, and then obviously when you get to secondary school, you do GCSE a language. When it was French, and I can definitely see the benefits of being bilingual. Obviously now I've learning Spanish when I went when I learned French, I couldn't make the connections of French and Welsh or whatnot. But when I learned Spanish, it was a lot easier for me to connect everything together because of Welsh, and then teaching Welsh as a result. So I don't know whether you've seen any benefits of you learning Welsh other than speaking Welsh, if that makes sense.
I don't know, because I haven't learned another language since, but I do like languages, but I haven't got it in. I don't know. I just can't. You have to live in a place, don't you, to really understand it. And
I think that's what helped me with Spanish, was because I was in South America, and like now when we go next week, I'm not going to say I'm going to be any good at Spanish.
Better than me. I don't know anything.
I haven't used any, but I've always been better at. It's the same with Welsh now. I can stand there and someone can talk to me, and I can work out exactly what they're trying to tell me. But it's then thinking and then translating the response in my head. I haven't got to that stage where I'm like there were some phrases and some questions which you probably had when you was doing Welsh, where you were like, oh, I can carry on this conversation. Whereas sometimes I have to go, right, what if they said right, and I need to translate my response and go back.
Well, Daniela was it still is, I imagine, a Welsh speaker, and occasionally she'd say, right, I'm just going to speak Welsh to you for the next 10-15 minutes, and I would be able to understand pretty much what she was saying, but I didn't have the capability to be able to talk back to answer what she was saying. So,
and as well, just because, and she was a first language Welsh speaker, wasn't she?
Well, her parents didn't speak Welsh, so I don't know what.
Oh, right, no, because there's a different, especially where I've grown up. It's like it's almost like the dialect. If you speak first, if you were brought up through the medium of Welsh, you have a slightly different dialect to if you spoke it as a second language Welsh. So they use different like words and blah. You know, you probably see it when you meet people who have learned English as a second language. It's not quite. It doesn't quite match up. So when you were hearing her saying it as maybe as purely, there might be words she was using. You were like, "Oh, what does that mean?"
It's something that I perhaps wish that I'd have carried on in third year as well, but not something that now I look back on and think, "Oh God, I really wish I could speak Welsh," because it's not something that would stand me in any sort of stead in my career now in England. But had things have gone differently, I might have needed it. But anyway.
So carrying through third year, then we obviously started, and it started to get more serious with our dissertations and whatnot. Is there anything, any overriding memories? I know we've briefly touched upon it last time because obviously we said about all of the other boys in our friendship group where we managed to find women who were interested in us at the start of the year. You had to wait till the end of the year, but is there anything that you can remember that sticks out over in third year, other than obviously the Aguero goal?
That was second year, I'm afraid, Billy.
Was it second?
Sorry.
Yeah, was it second year?
The Aguero goal was. That was another complaint that our neighbour had, was that we were far too loud when Aguero scored. But I mean, who cares? Third year. Well, I remember everybody else seeming more grown up, and I remember after Christmas time, I had to come back home a couple of times for interviews for PGCE, and that sort of just made me realise that it was all coming towards an end, and something that I had really enjoyed. And I think probably, perhaps I've struggled a little bit since university to belong somewhere. I think at Trinity I've felt like I really was part of something and belonged there. I think I am starting to get there now, but it's taken me 7 years out of university to feel like I really belong in a place. And that was definitely the last time that I've felt that way, was towards the end of university. I thought, looking around and thinking, I've spent 3 good years here and made a lot of friends and had a lot of good experiences, and it was very sad that it came to an end. But obviously, all things must pass, as George Harrison said.
I was going to ask you that because we mentioned it last time. We were quite lucky because our friendship group was quite tight, and a lot of us have kept in touch and still see each other when we can and can be bothered. Do you think at the time we were all like, it's really beneficial to us. We're one of the rare lucky few to have managed to keep in touch and stuff. But do you think because we had such a tight-knit bond that now, because we probably won't experience such a tight family bond again, like we haven't had that belonging sense since? Because I know now, I've in school now, I managed to. You're probably in a similar situation where you're starting to make friends and stuff, but obviously, so many people don't. You can make friends with a teacher, and then a year later, and then they're gone. Do you find it's strange that we've had such a tight knit for those 3 years? We might not ever experience that again. Does that make sense? Have I explained that?
Yeah. I don't think that it would be a problem for others, and as we talk to other people in the next couple of months, I think we might learn that. But I think other people have managed to find other all partnerships have grown and stuff. And there was a long time where I didn't feel like that, because I had a constant connection back to university with Daniela. And we had a lot, even though it was a very short time, we had a lot of very good memories at the very end of university. But I don't know, because when I moved back here, so I came back here for my PGCE year, and then and my NQT year, and then I moved back to Wales for 2 years, and then moving back here. So it's just been a very fragmented period of my life, and perhaps in 10 years' time, when I look back at it, and I've stayed in the same job now for 3 years, and I've lived in this house for 18 months and stuff. So things are settling down now. Whereas it was quite a turbulent 7 years, I suppose, between leaving university and present day. But I don't think it's because of how tight we were as a friendship group, particularly. I think it's because just generally Carmarthen was very small. And it was like a little village, really. If you compare it to big city universities where you know about 10 people or 20 people, the people on your course, and that's it. sometimes I think that I wish I'd have gone to a big university, but then other times when I think back and think about the time, just how comfortable we were and how close we all were, I don't think I would change it.
That's what I meant by tight, is that we were just all comfortable together.
Yeah.
We just were happy to spend. That's what I meant by we were just so happy to spend time together, and then obviously we spent near enough every day together. Whereas you hear other people talk and they just lock themselves away and keep themselves even away from each other. They hated
my brothers went to university in Aberystwyth, and he's lived with different people every year who lock themselves away and they don't speak to each other. I mean, Aberystwyth is not the biggest university in the world, but I don't know what it was about Carmarthen, but people were just because it was so far away from normal civilization that people just sort of went, "All right, Bet, come in here, come and have a chat."
That's what I mean. Is we've gone from that, and the community there, the whole way through campus, it was a similar sort of thing. We haven't been anywhere, but I do think you hit the nail on the head, because I've been in a similar place as well, where since leaving university, we haven't really had a base per se. We've literally been bouncing around from here, there. I went travelling, PGCEs and stuff like that. And you were saying, obviously, you were in Wales for a couple of years, then here, blah blah blah. Now that you've actually almost stopped and started, you've been in the same place now for a few years. Maybe that'll develop again. But yeah, I'm just wary of time, Tom. Is there anything? It does lead on to this. Is there anything that you would change or regret over the 3 years / 4 years with your gap year? That looking back,
yes, I think unlike you, there are things I think I'd change. I think if I went in knowing what I know now about life and about relationships and about just being young, I would definitely go back, and I would definitely do things slightly differently. Not drastically, but I think I would just relax a little bit more and have a little bit more fun, rather than thinking, right, I've definitely got to get a 2-1 and definitely got to get on a PGCE, because there are other jobs out there. I think at the time I thought I've got to be a primary school teacher and I've got to do this and I've got to do that, whereas actually if I'd have relaxed and enjoyed myself, I could be doing something that I enjoy even more as a living, and something more creative perhaps. But you can't, can you? Because that's life. You can't time travel.
No, that makes it does make sense. That doesn't, not that it doesn't shock me, but like I said before, like you were not hung up, but like I said about the QTS, you knew at the end of the 3 years you were going to go and do your QTS, and then Whereas until you went on your interviews, I hadn't thought about the next step. It hadn't crossed my mind what I was going to do next, which was quite rare for me, because I'm very much been right. I'm doing this, then this, then this. At that point, I hadn't thought of, what am I going to do next? But then once I saw you because the rest of our friends were all going to be looking for jobs and whatnot. They didn't need to think about PGCs and all that stuff. So I was like, maybe I should start looking at stuff. And then I managed to go on it. I had got a couple of interviews for PGCEs. Didn't get on to anything, so then ended up coming home and stuff. But yeah, I can imagine, because you knew. It's interesting that you say, and like you've said before about your YouTube and stuff, if you'd have started that earlier, maybe if you'd have gone back and done stuff. But yeah, but cool. All right, I've got a couple more questions for you. We'll do a quick. I got three questions, and then I've got one three quick fire ones, and then one final one. If you had to pick, if you could relive, if you could go back and do 1 year again, which one would you want to do again? I think you said second year. The start of second year was your favourite bit, so I think.
But if I was going to do it a year, so not necessarily an academic year, I think I would do 2011 again.
Yeah. Cool. Any particular reason?
I scored 100 in the summer. Playing for Coastal. That
was one reason.
That was one reason. But so it started off watching the Ashes, and it ended with just loving university and camping in the summer, and Wolves staying up in May. on my birthday
Yeah.
in 2011. There was a lot of good things that happened in that year. The Rugby World Cup happened in 2011. We went to the Millennium Stadium and watched the semi-final, watched Wales lose to France and stuff like that. I was interviewed on Radio 1 as well, very briefly. They said, what would you usually be doing at 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning? I said, sleeping. And that was played on Newsbeat then on the Monday morning.
Great.
Yeah, so lots of very good memories from 2011.
Okay. Tower or Noakes?
Oh. What, now
I mean,
in 2020?
No, obviously not now because Noakes Tower's no longer there. Which one? You can have either of the Noakes as well. You can, I don't mind.
I think that's a very tough question because I enjoyed all of those rooms, but I'd probably go for my final room as my ultimate room. I think
next to the fire exit with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then another quick one, Halliwell. So having dinner at the Halliwell, or the filling station.
Well, another great question, Billy. But I'd probably have to go for the Halley. Oh no! Oh god! Because I didn't enjoy the filling station. Just so everybody who doesn't know listens.
We have mentioned it on
the filling station is basically a burger van, but like out of a hatch, around the corner from the Union. So after a night out, you go around there. But I didn't enjoy.
And the Halliwell was Halliwell was like a cafe or like a restaurant.
Yeah, it was like
a
canteen. So in first
basically.
year we were all catered as well, which was a really rare thing I think nowadays.
Yeah.
I did enjoy having breakfast made for me.
Yeah.
And
it was.
We didn't have lunch.
We
never had lunch. I remember having to really stock up at breakfast and then have like a chapati or something at lunchtime in the microwave. But I'm gonna have to go for, I think, the filling station. I think.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
But I didn't enjoy it at its peak. But anyway.
And then so we might have already answered this, but what is over the 3 years? What is your top memory or your best memory? Just to end on a positive note, Tom.
There are lots and lots of moments. Even like saying goodbye to everybody, because when I was saying goodbye, I was just thinking of all the great times that we've had together, and then but one. I'll tell you what it would be. It would be a day in second year, I think it was, in about March, when it was unseasonably boiling hot. It was scorching hot, and we spent pretty much all day out on the little grass bit behind where we lived, and we had a barbecue. And we bought stuff and we cooked it inside and we ate it outside and stuff, and we were throwing a rugby ball around, and we were there for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it was a lovely day, day.
Cool. Just because one of my memories of you, and you may find it hilarious that I remember this, was purely because you've mentioned about you going in second year being that was at your peak of your drinking, but I actually think it was third year where
God.
You collapsed through the fire exit door and literally fell into my room, and then I was like, oh Tom, are you alright? And you not being able to talk.
Well, I can remember what else happened. Did you say second year then?
Third year. This was third year.
Because there was one in second year where I did pretty much the same, and Nia Renshaw was in your room. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I mean, I hope I'm okay saying this an hour and 10 minutes into a podcast, but I motorboated her. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember. That was, Nia, if you are listening, that was Tom's greatest achievement in second year. But yeah, third year, I just find it hilarious if you just. Because my window was like on the car park side, which was like had the pavement, so you'd obviously banged on the window for me to let you in. That. But I'd left the door open. You'd open the door and then fell into my room, and then obviously you were a bit worse for wear, Tom.
I honestly cannot remember that. What I thought happened was that because I think I can remember the event that you're talking about. Was it on my birthday?
Yeah.
Yes.
Potentially, yeah.
I thought I'd managed to get in through the front door and scramble down the corridor somehow, but you live and you learn, didn't you? That's been 7 years. I thought I walked down the corridor, but actually I came in the other way.
There were events that happened after, but I won't. I will share your. I won't. I'll save your.
Well, I was talking to somebody earlier today about that day, and just saying. So I'd bought a bottle of cider from B&M or somewhere really cheap.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd been treated really nicely on that day. I'd had a really nice birthday, and been taken out for breakfast and all sorts. It was lovely. Yeah. And then I bought this 3 litres of Three Hammers, it was called. Yeah. And I remember enjoying a large percentage of it, and then I told my friend today, I said, I've never ever been so aggressive in my life. I remember running down to your room and headbutting the door and slapping myself on the head, going, come on, and then like listening to really aggressive Manic Street Preacher songs in the when I was getting ready and stuff, and then apparently I just looked like an absolute mess getting out, because I'd enjoyed myself before going out, and then before getting ready, and then yeah.
But it was a good laugh. You did bring a chuckle, a fair few chuckles, Tom. So
it was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
But yeah, that's basically. I've got nothing else that I want to ask you about that I can remember off the top of my head. Is there anything else you want to talk about, Tom? Before anything else you want to get off your chest? Other than your undying love for Chelsea, you can admit that now if you like.
No, just I enjoyed everything and every pretty much every friendship that I made, and I miss lots of it. I miss lots of people from it. But yes, life goes on.
Oh, good.
La 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 la. Life goes on.
But yeah, so. Looking forward to next week. We don't really have a theme as such, purely because we're going to Madrid.
El Loco.
España. Yeah.
What I'm most nervous about next week is that so Saturday and Sunday and most of Monday I'll be completely alone in a city where I don't speak any Spanish. Like when I went to Italy, when I went to Turin, I don't speak much Italian, but because I'd been to Italy before and spoken, tried to pick up a little bit. So like you pick up little bits. In Spain, I haven't got a clue. I know hola and gracias, and that is it. But I'm hoping that
por favor, por favor.
Hopefully, because it's a city centre, and a big city, it should be quite multicultural.
And you are forgetting, Tom, that it is leading up to an English team coming.
That is also I'd forgotten about that as well. Yeah.
So
you'll have loads of Scousers around going, like meats.
And yeah, you'll be fine, Tom. I think you are. When I went to South America, I was panicking, and in South America they had they managed to understand what I was saying. Yeah. And they've got even less English, so I think you'll be fine, Tom. And if not, I can always come and bail you out on.
I'll just lock myself in the hostel for the
whatever Spanish prison you've been incarcerated in. I'll just come and save you. Yeah. And so the podcast will be done from a Spanish jail next week. That's what we're trying to say. But yeah, anything else, Tom? Do you want to give us whatever we need to know again to go and find, follow,
on
and whatnot?
Instagram and send us messages and stuff on. Let me find it. Oh, and also if you rate this podcast, perhaps it goes up the charts and stuff. So
we want to be number one by Christmas.
So please do that. So it's Absolute Scenes Pod on Instagram, and on Twitter I think it's Scenes Podcast @Scenes Podcast. Yeah. So check us out, guys. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else? No,
that'll be all, folks. Go on.
That'll be all. No, I was going to say there's no. I don't think there's anything major happening. Any major sporting events happening this weekend? Is there?
Wolves are playing Leicester on Friday.
I mean,
Real Madrid playing Celta Vigo on Sunday. I'll report live from it.
Yeah, reporting live. No, because the boxing I think is the week after. Is the Fury. The Fury fight. Yeah, I think that's the week after. So we'll save that for your predictions, because I think you're on a roll at the minute, Tom, aren't you, with your predictions?
Always right.
Oh, always right. So if you want an insider's tip, come join us next week in España, in Madrid. Goodbye, Tom.
Goodbye, Billy. See you. Thank you for listening,
Bye-bye.
everybody. We'll leave it there. Cheers.